Hello and welcome to the Brodie Blueprint, the podcast designed to help college students and young professionals navigate their career paths. Each episode we sit down with industry experts from finance, business, sports, education and more to uncover their journeys, daily experiences and lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're exploring career options, looking for networking advice, or just curious about different industries, this is the place for you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All right, hello everybody, welcome back to the Brodie Blueprint, and today our very first guest episode. We are joined by the lovely Sara. How are you today, Sara?
I'm good, Jack. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very excited to have you on. How does the privilege and honour feel of being the first guest we have?
I'm very excited. This is a very cool opportunity and like a full circle moment, so I'm very excited to be here and to talk through some things, man.
Good stuff. Let's do it. So, like me and Sara have spoke about, today's obviously the first guest episode, so there might be a few little things that go a little bit sideways, but we do have an outline. So we're going to get started. Sara, obviously you studied for 5 years at Eastern Michigan University. Can you tell us a little bit about that, a little bit about college life for you, what your goals might have been like in college, and a little bit about what you got up to?
No, Eastern Michigan, man, born and raised in Detroit. I grew up around Eastern. It was about 15-20 minutes from my parents' house. Actually, I didn't start off at Eastern. I played collegiate soccer at a small school called Siena Heights. Realized that wasn't kind of the fit for me. Being a college athlete and going to school and having a job, and it was just too much on my plate. And so I decided to step away and transfer over to Eastern, mainly for two reasons. One, it was a D1 school that felt very small, and two, for anybody who is a college kid, when you look back, right, you have no money. So I went back to mom and dad and said, I want to live closer to you guys in case I need help, right? But no, I loved Eastern. It's a very, very small D1 school, like I said. So it was going for sport management. I think we had maybe 100 kids in the program. Like it wasn't anything too crazy, but with that being said, going to class and being able to have the attention, like the one-on-one attention, really helped me. Like, I wasn't the best student. I will say that very proudly. I kind of was shocked to even make it to college. But I really kind of put my head down, and once I got to Eastern and I had the attention that I needed and could ask those questions and just be more present in the classroom, that really changed the way of the world for me. And I was very fortunate. So I did my bachelor's degree in sport management and marketing and communication. And during that time, I was up in the air. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I had 3 basic degrees right there with no direction of, do I want to be like everybody? Do I want to go into ticket sales? Do I want to be a sport agent? Do I want to do facilities? Like, I had no idea. And so I started thinking of like ways I could extend my college career. And obviously the question I always get asked is a master's worth it? Right. And so for me, it was worth it, but I knew I couldn't afford it. So I had to figure out a way to still continue my college, career, as well as not having the burden of being in student debt for years upon years. So again, very small D1 school. I had the attention that I needed from faculty and staff, and I went to the head of the sport management department and pretty much said, like, I want to continue to be in a sport management program for a master's, but I really don't have the funds to do it. And is there any GA position that you see that I could apply to? And I went down that road, and all the GA positions were things I wasn't interested in. I didn't want to do football equipment. I didn't want to, work with the swim team. Like there were so many opportunities, but they didn't fit me the way that I knew I needed that, right? And so, speaking with the head of the department, she was very, Dr. Reamer, if you ever see this, I'm very thankful for you, because she built out a GA position for me to be a part of the sport management department. She could see the passion that I had of, I don't know what I want to do. I still need to figure this out. And I want to get my master's. I want this. I had all these goals, right? I wanted to have um, I wanted to have like a superior title at a job before I was 30, right? I wanted to go out and make an impact in the sport world. I knew that, but I didn't know where I was ever going to line up. And so she created this GA position that was basically her assistant. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat that. It was her assistant doing research work. For those of you who don't know, when you do get into like the master's program, you either have to do a thesis, or you have to go in front of the board and take a test. But that may have changed now that I'm out of the game. But I had to write a thesis, did that. But when you do get into that level and you want to go and pursue like a PhD, which I thought I wanted to do, and then I said I don't want to do this anymore once I learned more about the research and dissertations that have to happen. I was helping out writing papers and doing all the grit work to have successful publications go out. So very cool learning lesson. I took everything in, and I think at that moment, once I had an opportunity be brought on the table for me to get my master's, that's really when it clicked. Like for me, that's really, really, really when it clicked that, hey, you can't be a 21-year-old college student running around, going to bars every single night. You need to really hone in and figure out what you want to do, because this opportunity isn't something that everybody gets in the world. And as soon as I got that opportunity, my life completely changed. I was really focused on making an impact and hitting my goals. Right. And so when um, when I was in the sport management program, I was working at University of Michigan and being a glorified janitor. I've told that story a million times, cleaning up the building and working at the big house. Very, very cool job. But I was learning things in my master's classes that taught me how to go after what I wanted in the sport world. So I was working at U of M, and I was trying to talk to every single person I possibly could and network and get my name out there. Like if somebody walked in the building and I was working, like they needed to know who I was, type of mentality. And more importantly for me, I need to know who you are and how you can help me get to where I want to be. So my time there, I was able to network and meet a lot of people, and things just started opening up. A job here that I really didn't have to go through an interview process. They pretty much said apply, and we'll move you into that department. To being able to be in the special events sector when I was at Michigan. I then started meeting people in the golf world, which, as you know, obviously is my milk and cookies. I love being in this space. And again, like just opportunity, door after door after door kept opening, and it led me to Hurricane and where I am now. But yeah, I would say Eastern, fantastic. They gave me an opportunity. I was able to take it, and more importantly, I was able to have something click in my brain to, like I said, wasn't the best student. I went from like a bare minimum GPA to being on the dean's list in my master's program, right? It was life-changing. And from there, I mean, like I said, the door just kept opening and opportunities, because I was making a name for myself and just trying to get to my goal of being under 30 and having, executive title,
Positions already.
in these positions. So
How,
it takes a lot of work.
I feel like from what you said there, so I'm in a similar position just now where I'm majoring in accounting and didn't really know what I wanted to do with a business management degree. And all it took was one professor here at Weber to kind of take some interest in her class and speak to her a little bit. And I found what I want to do, which is work in accounting and finance and things like that. So, how big would you say, and you had a mentor figure you spoke about yourself who got you into the graduate program, how big do you think a figure like that can be in someone's career?
Oh, massive. Massive, massive, massive. And
Hmm.
the best part about having a mentor or having somebody who makes that moment for you is that it's never just going to stop at that one person, right? And I firmly believe it comes from the connections that you make with people and
Hmm.
how personable you can get, and being very open and honest and having those difficult conversations. I've obviously been out of school for a couple years now. That's creeping up on how many
Couple of
years.
years.
But now as I look back, there's been mentors in those opportunities that I can go back and have conversation with and still talk to today, right? And
Hmm.
I mean, I'll even use it here. Mario is one of my mentors, who owns the Hurricane Junior Golf Tour, right? I talk to him on a daily basis, not just about what our task lists are, but making conversation to understand why, like the answers to whys and hows, and really pick his brain and utilize him to understand how I can get better or where my gaps are, and really move forward. So
Of course.
it's a massive impact. And then those people will go out and who go out and help you. Like you can't take that for granted. You have to show appreciation and value, and turn around and say thank you, because
Absolutely.
again, like I firmly believe that if I never was gifted the GA position, and Dr. Reamer never created that, I don't think I would be where I am today at all. I think I would be in a completely different space.
It's interesting the difference that one person can make, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's insane. And just thankful, gratitude, appreciation, because again, like you never know where you could be if one person doesn't make that connection with you. Like my life would be completely
Hmm.
different and changed for sure.
I think another thing that I found interesting, just like I said about networking in the last sort of year or so, I think as a young person with no networking experience, it felt like it was hard to know what to say at some point. Like, how do you actually network? So, I guess you've obviously been in a space now where you've connected with a lot of people. Like you said, you've had a lot of mentors already. What would you say to people who are looking to start a network or looking to start connections, just don't know how to get started or don't know what to say in those conversations?
Yeah, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right?
Mhm.
I've said that a couple times over the past years. Is being comfortable being uncomfortable, and networking is not easy. It's very hard, and it takes a lot of skill, and honestly it takes a lot of trial and error.
Mhm.
I'll remember going to like teamwork online events and showing up to these massive networking events, and I went to one in Cleveland, and I walked in so scared. I was shaking my resumes, like going up and talking to people, trying to sell yourself. And at the end of the day, those people who are there, one, are also trying to network, but two, the people who are there from the booths or whatever you're trying to do, they're they're there to help you. They're there to make a connection and see, like, can you help me or how can I help you? And just being genuine and being honest. I just went to a networking event last Friday, and when I have students come up and talk to me, and trying to sell themselves and hand me their resume, right? Like my first question is, what do you want to do? Like I really, what do you want to do? Because I don't want to sit here and try to form you and mold you into what I'm looking for. Like if it's not the
Mhm.
right fit, it's not the right fit. But having those conversations is very important. But you got to take the step to be uncomfortable,
Of course.
and it takes a lot. And then My prime example would be when I was at Michigan. Like I said, I wanted everybody to know who I was, but I wanted to know who they were. So
Hmm.
I literally would just walk up to people and say, "Hi, my name's Sara Even. What do you do here? Like, who are you?" And it's so blunt and it's so out of the, like, no one would expect out of the blue,
Yeah. Hmm.
but it's so like down to earth. Like, "Hi, my name's Sara Even. I work in facilities. Like, what's your name? What do you do here?"
Hmm.
And then I would just start trying to ask questions with our interns here at Hurricane who are out in the field, right, in
Yep.
operations. There's massive networking opportunities for them every single weekend.
Hmm.
And my number one thing for them is just go up to a parent and say, "Hey, where are you from?" Right? Everybody has a
Start a
place you can
conversation.
connect.
Just
Yeah, just start conversation. It doesn't necessarily always have to be so uniform and formatted and
yeah.
I got to ask the right questions. I got to talk about this. I got to talk about that. Sometimes
Hmm.
it really just comes down to like normal conversation.
Of
Like
course.
I
No.
networking is kind of like flirting. I don't know if you know what I mean. Like if you go meet somebody at a bar or something like that, you're just gonna start conversation
Hmm.
naturally.
Yeah.
It's never so formatted, and I think that's the perception that networking has is it has to be formatted, and it really doesn't. It can come
Yeah.
natural. I mean, I travel so much now, and the amount of conversations that I have in airport restaurants or
Hmm.
just sitting
Yeah.
there on whatever, just to get to know people, and you never know who could help you, right? You never know where you're going to meet that person that can
Exactly.
change your life.
Exactly.
So
I think there's a lot more to be said for being personable and just getting on with a person without the need for a more formal space or a formal position to talk about. I think there is a lot to be said for just having a casual conversation with someone and seeing what comes from it. So I think that's cool that you agree with that.
yeah.
Obviously, I want to touch more on the Hurricane Junior Golf Tour and the internships that you have, but before that, now as a person in a big position of responsibility in your big director position, what do you look for in interns? What qualities do you look for in interns when you're hiring now?
Yeah, whatever role or title I have, these things have never changed for me.
Okay.
Since day one at Hurricane to year six at Hurricane. Um, there's three things that specifically I look for and our team looks for. Um, Positive attitude goes a very long way. Positive attitude, positive energy. Right? A lot of what we do is very difficult. We don't sugarcoat that at all. It's not the easiest internship in the world, and if you have a positive attitude, it's a game changer. It's 100% a game changer here because it will turn a long tournament weekend into a short tournament weekend
Hmm.
because you have a positive attitude about your team and where you're at and etc. Um, Work ethic. Sometimes you can't teach work ethic. That's just natural for some people.
Hmm.
But having the mentality of being part of the team and making sure that the job is done and it's done correctly is very important. How are you going to push to make sure that that happens? A lot of our team here are not clock in and clock out mentality, and that's on purpose, right? We buy into what we do. We are very passionate about Hurricane in general, and more importantly, junior golf.
Yeah.
And we know that we don't have a standard Monday through Friday 9 to 5. That's just not what we do here. And
Hmm.
so having the work ethic and the mentality of making sure everything's done and it's done correctly and it's to the standard is very important. And then lastly, number three is just all around sense of urgency.
Hmm.
Like you have to understand that time, everybody says time is money, right? But time is very important to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The way that you go about things and the urgency level that you bring to it. If there's a problem, we're not just going to sit on it. If there's an
Yeah.
issue, we're not just going to let it billow and take massive effect, right? We want to work in a sense of urgency, and move very, very quickly. And so having those three things for me as somebody who's applying to be a part of our internship or full time are very important. Outside of I would say problem solving and just being personable.
Hmm.
Like I don't want to come to work and now we work from home, so I don't want to get on a computer screen with somebody
Yeah,
who doesn't want to be here, right? Like
yeah, of course.
and being personable and knowing, hey, I have your back, you have mine, and working together as a team. But also, we have a lot of problems that can arise for how largely scaled of an operation we
Yeah.
are. Having all three of those pillars and then being able to problem solve and being personable, like those people who have those qualities in our team stay here for a very long time.
Great, good. So, what kind of internships have you guys got just now? Are you hiring for the fall coming up, or is there summer positions? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you guys have on just now?
Yeah, so we're actually in a really cool spot, Jack. I know you were a past intern of ours and you
Hmm.
know how it goes kind of, but right now for the summer we're on a wait list, which is really
Wow.
really cool to see.
Hmm.
Obviously we want to give a lot of opportunity to students and we do. I mean, our operations team is about 60 interns deep. It's very large, but to have a wait list for our ops internship as well as our sales and marketing, we've built out different departments to better give us a hone in on how we're going to expand and how we need to function throughout the day. And to have a wait list is crazy to think about. When 6 years ago, my first day, I had maybe 20 interns, and I was
Yeah.
like scrambling to find people, right? And now we have this massive, massive, wait list and opportunity, and it's really cool.
Great.
But to your question, yeah, we do have internships right now. I know that they are getting to the point where they're almost full for fall,
Okay.
which is really cool. But then they'll
Cool.
start for the spring
For this fall and spring as
internship
well.
as well. Yep. So we do 365 internships. So we have it from January to May, May to August, August to December, and dependent on the time that you are graduating senior or you're getting into your capstone project, we have something that we can offer. Now, when
Great.
it comes to our opportunities, right, like I said, operations being at the forefront of
Hmm.
what we do, running junior golf tournaments and being out there, that to me, if you would have shown me our operations internship when I was in college, I would have dropped everything and taken it so quickly, being that I do, love the game of golf. But
Yeah.
it being able
It's
to
fun.
travel, being able to go to places that some interns would never in a million years think to
Hmm.
go to.
100%.
Um, very cool opportunity. As well
Absolutely.
as even like what you did, right, in sales and
Hmm. Hmm.
and marketing, and now we have business development, we
Yeah.
have hospitality, we have recruiting, we have I think I already said it, but digital marketing,
Yeah. Yeah.
et cetera. We
Great.
have an influencer project now where we're bringing
Wow.
on influence. Like, dude, I'm telling you, it's expanded so much, and it's
Sounds
so
like this
cool
in a
to
short
see.
time as
But
well.
yeah, seriously.
So,
But yeah,
are,
our
are they still
opportunities are
being
open.
are they still being posted on Teamwork Online? Most of the internships. Cool.
Yeah,
So
we're
obviously,
we're very heavy with Teamwork Online. It's
hmm,
it's a great platform, and
yeah.
they do a lot for us, and it's the best way to see what we have available. I could shoot you a link so you can you
Oh
can
yeah,
have that, send it out as well. But
of course.
has all of our positions on there, and if we have, sometimes we post full-time opportunities on there too.
Yeah.
So it's not just for internships. We have the ability to post full-time as well.
I think anyone that is watching this is looking for any kind of experience in business operations. It is easily one of the best opportunities out there, I think. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
when we interned, we were obviously kind of working from home on a virtual call every day, but you did see a lot of stuff that operations were doing. And I think you're right, the traveling aspect and getting that real life experience from kind of the front lines has looked really interesting. And obviously sales as well. I think every team we had was good fun. I think we all learned quite a lot. So I wouldn't recommend it any higher. It sounds busy, so I would try and apply as quick as possible. I mean, it sounds like you
Yeah.
guys have got thousands
Seriously.
of people waiting, it feels like.
Seriously, man.
But yeah, I'll throw that link in the description or something. And if anyone wants to go over and have a look on Teamwork, that's a great platform. And Hurricane are a great company to intern from. Like you said there, you're shocked and so happy about the growth you've had since you started 6 years ago. You've had quite a lot of positions at the Hurricane Junior Golf Tour, would you believe? Do you know
Yeah.
how many you've had?
Oh God, no. I have 4 or 5. I have no idea.
I believe
Um,
if we're taking your LinkedIn as factual, you've had 7 or 8 positions with the tour. So
yeah,
I found that
they all kind of
interesting. Obviously,
combine for me. They all kind
that's
of,
what I kind of guess that
yeah,
might be the case. I guess that might be
yeah,
the case. But I wanted to touch on, just because when you look at it through the progression of your careers, it looks like kind of the dream career path. I think, you started as a marketing and recruitment manager, and now you've been a president and COO. So one of the questions I had written down was, is there any stages of that career you've had just with Hurricane that you think had some bigger negatives or some bigger positives than others, and things you'd like to share from that journey?
yeah. So I'll start from the bottom and work upward.
Sounds good.
So,
Okay.
um, coming in 6 years ago, I had no clue what I had gotten myself into. And like I said, born and raised in Detroit, I had to pick up my world and move to Orlando very quickly. And this is obviously before COVID and before we went remote. But
Yeah.
um, taking that risk, I had no clue what I got myself into. I took a very, very, very big risk of packing up
Hmm.
my world and moving to a place that I only knew two people. I'll say two people. And
Yeah.
I'm I'm so happy that I did that. That really taught me a lot. And getting into that first position, marketing manager, recruitment manager, my biggest thing when I started was to just take it all in and be a sponge. And I still use that phrase for all of our interns that come in, is
Hmm.
be a sponge and take it all in, because you never know if you're going to like a position. You never know if you're going to excel. You never know. You can put in all the work. You can have these goals and whatever, but yeah, I didn't know if I was going to fit into the culture. I didn't know if I was going to like the position that I actually accepted. That first job that you get out of college, that's like your big time job, is
Hmm.
is very nerve-wracking, because you've been in college for 4 years, or 5, 6, whatever it may be, and you're so used to going to class and maybe being like a waiter or waitress, bartender,
Yeah.
working in these small roles in the athletic department, and now you're going to, I don't have class anymore and I got to work 8-hour days. And
Full time.
uh, do I actually know what I'm doing? Like, can I back up my degrees, right? And so
Hmm. Yeah.
getting into Hurricane, that was my big first moment that I felt very uncomfortable, because I had worked at Michigan prior for 4 years. I
Yeah.
had been interning in the athletic department at Eastern Michigan at the same time. I knew all of those people, but now I'm
Hmm.
restarting with a new company. It's very nerve-wracking. And going into it, I just was a sponge. Like I said, I tried to learn as much as I possibly could, and I really never said no, which now looking back is, yes, a positive, but also could be a negative. So be careful with
Okay.
that. But I would take on things and just figure it out. Back to what I was talking about with qualities,
Hmm.
problem
Yeah.
solving,
Yeah.
right? I tell this story quite often as well, that I had a little background in website work, and told Hurricane that, yeah, I could take on the website, whatever. And 3 days into my job, I deleted our homepage, and now I'm staying at the office till 2 a.m. stressed out trying
Nice.
to figure out how to get it back, right?
Nice.
And but by doing that, I was able to learn how to use the website, right? Like there's
Hmm.
there's a positive and there's a negative,
Of
but
course.
at the same time, that those problem solving moments that I had to do really taught me a lot, and honestly is what helped me get to the different job titles that I've
Hmm.
had there. And I'll say this, over my years at Hurricane, the different titles, it was never about the title at that moment. It was
Yeah.
always about getting more responsibility and more um, team members under me, and how can I be where I wanted to be, and it'll
Sure.
lead me into my biggest teaching moment, which is when I was promoted to be the president at Hurricane. Now,
Okay.
back to my college goals, right? I wanted to have an
Mm-hmm.
executive title before I was 30. Did I
Yep.
hit that? Yes, absolutely. Congratulations. But
Nice.
at the same time, I was not prepared and I was not ready to take on that big title.
Mm-hmm.
And it really it was very difficult for me, and I had to have a very humbling conversation with myself and with Mario and the staff and everybody who had been involved at Hurricane at the time, that I took the president title and I took it like I can do everything because I've
Yeah.
been involved in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need help and support. I can just do it. And what that really taught me is you can't do everything. You can't
Yeah.
be the person that does 17 jobs in an office space, and
Yeah.
you can't work 7 days out of the week for 14 hours a day and
Yeah.
sleep 2 hours and try to still have a personal life and
Mm-hmm.
try to make everybody happy. And I'm very thankful that I was put into a position like that for me
Yeah.
to fail. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not shy away from this. I failed in that role.
Yeah.
And it was a very large life lesson to me that I can't be the MVP 24/7 365.
Yeah.
To
Of course.
be successful, to be in a position where you have a team, you have to utilize your team and you have to put a lot of trust. And that was another thing that I learned is if I'm sitting here trying to do everybody's job, do I actually trust them to do their own job?
Yeah.
And that was a very hard conversation to have as well. But I know now looking back, I burnt myself out. I was taking on way too much on my plate that was unnecessary. And I got a
Mm-hmm.
little bit balloon headed where I thought that I was this big and bad person when in reality I was just crumbling. And
Yeah.
again, trying to have a work life balance when you're doing everything, you just simply can't. And that then you go through the unfortunate toll of now I'm not sleeping, now I'm having those depressed moments, now my body
Yeah.
physically went into shock and was just like, what do I do, right? And
Yeah.
so I had to step away and just kind of collect who I was and become better and better my mental space, my professional space, and understand what I needed and what I wanted. And the moment that I had those two figured out, and
Yeah.
it took me a little bit to what we call my vacation, and have that moment.
Yeah.
I was able to really get back into the headspace of, okay, this is what I want. This is where I
Mm-hmm.
want to be, and have those honest conversations, with Mario and with our team. And
Yeah.
now it's very different. We are fully staffed. We've expanded our organizational chart. I'm not overseeing so many people,
So many
right?
people again. Yeah.
And I don't have that mentality of like I need to do everything. If I have task lists, I'm looking at it as, okay, how can I delegate and who can help me? And again, back to that question, do I trust my staff? I'm to
Yeah.
a point now where I completely trust my staff. If I
Mm-hmm.
have a
Mm-hmm.
task that I need completed and help, I can go to one of the tournament directors. I can go to some of our sales staff like, hey, I need help here. Can you do this?
Of course.
And that was definitely the biggest life lesson. But again, all
Great.
of my titles, they combine for me. I
Emergency
really
one.
don't know, but I would say if I had to take away anything from my 6 years of being at Hurricane and looking at where I started to where I am now, I
Mm-hmm.
have learned through trial and error. I've learned from problem solving, and I've learned from really just figuring it out, right? And
Great.
making problems go away. Like that's my goal, is if a problem comes across my desk, I want to make sure that it goes away
Make sure it
very
goes away.
quickly and in urgency mode, and just get it done.
I think I want to touch on it. You spoke about it so much there. I think, whether you're in high school or just a teenager or a young person, I think we're often told that it's okay to fail. And obviously, that can be true in a lot of instances. It can't be in some. There's a big difference between deleting the homepage of your website and admitting to yourself that you failed in a role as big as president. Do you
Yeah.
think that you wouldn't be able to be in the place you are now and be as happy as you are now with your work and personal life if you hadn't had that failure? Is that something that really was another turning point that you had sort of later on in your career?
Yeah, it's definitely a big turning point because until you really fail, you don't know that feeling. And
Hmm.
like you said, yeah, I could fail on a task. I could make a
Yeah.
mistake. I can do those things. But when you have to have the humbling conversation with yourself and you have to look in a mirror and say, I failed in this role, and what do I need to do to get my professional career back on track?
Yeah.
And like really grasp that moment,
Hmm.
that will motivate you way more than anything else in this world. And that is a very big turning point. And it is very true. You do have to learn from failure, and you do
Yeah.
have to learn from mistakes and whatever. But I'm way more motivated now to
Hmm.
make sure that I have the right staff in place, that I am, not taking on too much, that I am able to have a work-life balance and able to do things to get my headspace into
Yeah.
the way that it needs to be. Right now, granted, I still don't work a traditional Monday through Friday 9 to 5. I
Hmm.
still work what seems like 7 days out of the week some days, but
Yeah.
I also make sure that I'm scheduling my time for
Hmm.
things that are important, right? If I
Yeah.
have, family that has a birthday, or I have to go, celebrate something or whatever, I'm putting that time in and I'm working around those moments. Do
Hmm.
I work from 6 a.m. to 3 and then
Yeah.
be able to do something in the evening, or do I have something in the morning and work a little bit later through the evening?
Hmm.
Just the time. But yeah, no,
Of
failure
course.
for sure. Like, if you have to fail, and you really have to have that moment where you look yourself in the mirror and understand that you failed,
Yeah.
to be able to be more motivated to not feel like that ever again. That's now my goal. My goal is to never feel the way that I did when I realized that I failed. So,
That's that's good advice. Have you had the position yet where you've seen someone maybe either younger than you or in a position sort of under your control that has failed themselves and has experienced that? Have you seen that from the outside yet or not yet?
yeah, yeah, I've seen that. I think I see that a lot with our tournament directors,
Okay.
where they have moments where they need to make the mistake. They
Yeah.
need to understand. And when they do, they know that they have the support from
Hmm.
myself and our team, but it is something where they have to fail at to really understand. They have to have a bad tournament,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
they
of
have
course.
to learn. And I'm very key in on, I'm gonna let you jump in the deep water. I'm gonna
Hmm.
throw you in the deep end. I'm gonna see if you're gonna sink or swim. Now,
Yeah.
I've said this for years too. When you start drowning, I'm gonna let you drown for 5 minutes, but then I'm
Hmm.
gonna help you and bring you back to life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think it's very important that if you are drowning, that you realize that you're drowning, so that you can go to your superior and supervisor or manager and say, I need
Yeah.
help. it,
Hmm.
it takes a lot for people to say I need help, more than
Sometimes,
we
yeah.
think.
Of
And
course.
that is a very big thing with our tournament directors, is for them to say I need help. So
I find that interesting. I had an interview in the last year or so where they asked, they said this was the most difficult question they asked in the interview, which was obviously intimidating. She asked me if I was struggling with a task, what would I do? Like, what would be the first thing that I did? And to me, the first answer was to ask for help. It was to look at the resources you've got and then help somebody above you who could, I don't know, find an answer, or find who could help you at least. And what she said back, I found really interesting. She said that people had no idea how to answer that question. So I think that ties into what you say about how, to a lot of people, asking for help can be the hardest thing ever for some reason,
is,
whether it's in
yeah,
work, if it's in your personal life, it can be just the hardest thing ever. So I think it's really interesting that often, yes, you have to figure it out yourself, but if you can, then it is okay to ask for help. And like you say, it is okay to admit that you have failed and admit that you have been wrong as well. So I think that's something that we often neglect to remember as well.
yeah. asking for help is very difficult some days.
Yeah. So,
Because I mean, depending on how big your ego is, right? Like you don't want to
of
admit that
course.
you're struggling, and depending on the person, that's a very hard question and very
Yeah.
hard realization is I need help.
Of course. No, I completely agree. I've got one more thing I want to touch on, Sarah, before we get into some more quick fiery type questions. You had the goal executive title before you were 30. You achieved it. Congratulations. How did you find being a manager and being in that position as a young person?
That's a good question. Depending on Mm, certain situations, it was a little difficult
Hmm.
because you look at some of the staff were older than me, right?
Yeah,
And so how do you get somebody who has more experience because of the age difference
yeah, yeah.
respect you being at an executive title at such a young age, right?
That's
And
young
so
age, yeah.
I think that was my biggest challenge, but um, it really came down to just being honest and transparent of,
Yeah.
hey, like you might have more experience in this area than I do,
Hmm.
but for Hurricane, like they don't call me Hurricane Google for nothing, right? Like I know Hurricane inside and out. I know how we function. I know how we work. I know the process in place and all those things. And having the title that I did as president or even now COO, like there's a reason why was put into those positions,
Hmm.
and making that connection with your staff. I think that's the biggest thing is making the connection with
Yeah.
your staff and being as open and transparent as you possibly can and just being able to connect and be personable. And
Hmm.
that's what comes all into our culture here at Hurricane is I don't want to work with anybody who I wouldn't want to go have dinner with,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to go and be at a tournament with somebody who I just hate being
Being
around,
around.
right?
Yeah.
And that's not what we are. But I think being in those positions, I learned that you have to show appreciation to your staff, show value, and just be open
Hmm.
and transparent and utilizing their skills, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, the age thing was first start for me, but how do I use their skills and their experience to help me and to help the organization be in a better place?
Yeah.
And
Great.
so once I figured that out, I think it was all good.
Easy after that, pretty much.
Easy after that one, yeah.
Do you think that advice is the same for anyone? Because obviously, I think about it, I'm going to be starting my first out of school job in the next year and a half, and I think for a lot of people in my position, sorry, entering the workforce and being not necessarily the runt of the litter, but you are on that first rung of your career ladder, and it can be intimidating. I think going into any first time job. Do you think that advice carries on for any entry level position as well as being in management? That if you're just personable, honest, and just do your work, then at some point you will fit in, and it will get easier with time.
Yeah, you definitely have to find the place that you fit in, right? And
Hmm.
and when you're trying to get your foot in the door, that is a lot of trial and error sometimes,
Okay.
right? And this is why I tell our interns here at Hurricane is you might love your internship or you might hate your internship, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
it's okay to realize you don't want to work in that position. And
Hmm.
as you get your foot in the door somewhere, you have to make sure that it's the right fit for you, which is digging in from day one, getting in there, being personable, getting to know the staff, getting to know who you're working with, getting to know your position. And
Yeah.
yeah, go to work, put your head down, grind, get your job done. But at the same time, like you are also interviewing them in your
Yeah.
first month of being hired, right?
Hmm.
And if it's not the right fit, if it's not the right culture, it's not worth putting, trying to put a square peg into a circle, right? It's just, it's
Yeah.
not, that's not how it works. And so you definitely have to be asking questions and get to know people and be comfortable being uncomfortable in your workplace setting and just trying as much as you possibly can. But again, like I said, you're interviewing them. You don't know until you walk in the door. And
Yeah.
it's okay to take a position and think you're going to want to be there and work and do all the things. And then you
Hmm.
get there and you realize, like, this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
And that's okay to have those realizations too. You don't need to force yourself into liking a job that you're never going to like and stay there for 30 years hating everything that you do.
Yeah, bam. Yeah, pretty
And
much.
the people.
Uh, yeah, doesn't sound ideal, does it? I think you're
Right.
right as well. I like what you say and how you phrase that you're interviewing other people when you start a job as well. I think maybe in the pressure of looking for an internship or in the pressure of finding your first job, you kind of forget that you're looking for something that suits you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important. I think anyone that's a senior watching or any grad students or stuff, remember that when you're interviewing with companies or when you're having your first day, you need to find if that's going to be the best place for you, if that's going to be the right place for you. So I think that's something that can easily get lost. You can easily forget that in the interview process. So it's something that I would definitely always keep in mind as you get started.
Yeah, and I'll
All right.
say, like, even in the interview process, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember, oh God, this was like 2015. I don't know. I interviewed for a internship with the Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
And I walked into that interview and I met some of their staff at the time. I
Hmm.
walked out and I said, I will never work for this organization. And
Wow.
it was solely because of the person who was interviewing me. And
Hmm.
I was interviewing them back. Like,
Yeah.
how do you hold yourself? How do you, have conversation? How do you respect people? How do you talk about the company? How all of those things. And that's not a knock on the Red Wings, that person no longer works there, and probably for a good reason. But it's one of those things where I knew that when I was doing something for an internship, like, you have to ask those questions and you have to get to know who the person is that's interviewing you. And here's some advice or wisdom, I
Mm,
guess, that you could take,
of course.
is when people are interviewing for Hurricane and I interview them and I
Mm.
ask, what questions do you have? And they say nothing, or I think you answered all my questions. Like, you should be rifling off questions to me about, what do we do? Who are you? How does it function? Look into the organization and
Yeah.
get information. Like, anytime somebody doesn't even take the time to ask a question, it's like, how
Hmm.
much do you actually care? Do you actually want to be here, or are you just trying to get a job to get a job? And
Yeah.
the difference is the people who ask questions and who dive into that, those are the people who are going to get hired, because it shows that you put in the effort and you really want to be here.
Course. Is that a common thing? Obviously, I think, if you're talking about being a university student, you get a lot of career services that say, come up with questions to end interviews. Is this a thing that you've seen from other people in leadership positions, that it is crucial to have a question at the end of an interview?
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people. Like, when I was at the Teamwork Online event, I go up to the
Hmm.
booths and I talk to all the people who are there as well, and
Nice.
it's a networking event for me too. It's not
Yeah.
just, for students, but asking them, what are you guys looking for interns or full time, or what's the biggest thing that you see when people are interviewing, that's,
Hmm.
somebody that is going to be a yes pile and somebody who's going to be a no pile. And I will
Hmm.
say, yeah, asking questions is definitely a crucial thing. But back to what I was saying as well, is
Hmm.
looking into the organization. Like,
Yeah.
knowing who they are. This kid made me laugh this past event, because he walked up and he just said, I know nothing about Hurricane, can you tell me a little bit about it? And I'm like, dude, you get a link with all of the companies that are going to be there. Why
Yeah.
do, like, take the 5 minutes to just look at the website? Like,
Yeah.
at least know. And more importantly, golf is in our name. Like, you should at
Hmm.
least know, like,
Have an idea what it
have
is
an
they do,
idea.
perhaps.
Like, and that, again, that gets into my point. Like, if you don't take the time to get to know the company that you're applying for, why
Hmm.
should they get the time? Why should they take the time out of their day to get to know you?
Yeah.
Right.
Make
And
it.
and I think it's very important. And I would say across the board, questions are definitely meaningful questions, is
Absolutely.
too, like, not just, what's your favorite color? Like,
Yeah, what do you do in your spare time? Well,
right.
that's obviously there you go, guys. Make sure if you're preparing for any interviews or anything, make sure you have at least one question. Isn't that right, Sarah? At least one
One,
question.
at least one, please. And a
We're
lot of
gonna
people
try.
who are interviewing like to talk, so like obviously I can talk for days, but
Mhm.
if you have one question that at least opens up a
Yeah,
conversation to go into
simply,
more
yeah,
questions, you know.
yeah.
So
On the subject of questions, Sarah, we're going to try our very first feature. We're going to call them quickfire questions. They might not be quickfire. We're just going to go through them. There's 10 questions, a little bit of fun. So we're going to see what your answers to these are. Sound good?
sounds good.
So number one, what was your very first job?
Ooh, I worked in an ice cream parlor.
An ice cream parlor. That's a cool. That's a
I
cool one,
did.
actually. Okay.
I
All
did.
right.
Yeah, I was 14 years old and I went and I got my first job working at an ice cream parlor.
Wow.
And I can tell you, I do not know how to make an ice cream cone correctly. So they
Nice.
they turned me into the cleaner. Let's say that. I was
Wow.
cleaning a
Okay.
lot.
Okay. All right. All right. What would you say? Are you a coffee or an energy drink person? What's your go-to?
Coffee. I am a black
Coffee.
coffee person by far.
Black coffee.
I
Wow.
yeah, yeah. If I don't wake up and make coffee, we're having a bad day. I probably have way too much coffee. It's
Okay.
probably an issue.
I think that could be a common answer. What's your favorite either golf course you've played, event you've been to, or event you've hosted with Hurricane?
Ooh, that's a really good question. Oh man. Uh, the favorite course that I've played is back home in Michigan, Oakland Hills.
Wow.
I
Okay.
got to play Oakland Hills in high school,
Cool.
which was really cool.
Nice.
And then I would say my favorite course that we host an event for Hurricane, and everybody knows that this is a plug that I will show up to their event, is Lonnie Pool out in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's the home for
Okay.
NC State. It's
Okay.
a very pretty course. It's got a lot of challenge to it, and it overlooks the city. Very, very, very beautiful
Beautiful.
course. Yeah.
Beautiful. Would you say you're an early bird or a night owl?
I have to be an early bird for work, but I'm more of a night owl.
Well,
I
yeah.
am somebody who likes to stay up and get things done.
Okay. Who would you say someone you admire is, either through your personal life or anyone you've met through work? Who would you admire? Or even celebrities?
Hmm. I would say, uh, I think he might come after me if I don't tell him. I do. I admire Mario, and you can tag
Oh,
him in
okay.
that. I do
Okay.
admire him a lot, and he has been a real big impact in my life, not only through Hurricane, but personally. He's really helped me in a lot of professional goals and personal goals that I speak very, very highly of him really
Good.
helping me specifically, but I admire his work ethic. I admire
Hmm.
how hard he goes every single day
Yeah,
to be successful. And
definitely.
yeah, he's definitely on the top of my list.
Yeah, I think you'll be happy with that review, Sarah, I'd have to say. If you didn't work in golf, what do you think you would do? What do you think you would have done from Eastern Michigan if you didn't want to work in golf?
Unfortunately, I think I would have gone to ticket sales.
Really?
My gift of gab, I think, is very well in the world of ticket sales. I
Okay.
definitely think that I would have gone that route and been somewhere with some sport team selling big spaces or group sales or account
Yeah.
executive or something along those lines.
Well, something different. All right. What would you say is one word to describe your leadership style?
Uh,
I'm interested to hear this one, actually.
one word to describe my leadership style.
Yeah.
Uh, unique, very
Okay.
unique.
Okay.
Mainly because I mean you were under me as well as
Hmm.
I'm not your typical micromanage on top of you type of person, but
Yeah.
we do have goals, we do have things
Hmm.
we need to hit, and
Hmm.
I think I'm very open. I'm blunt, I guess you could say. Blunt is
Hmm.
another one. I don't
Yeah.
like
Okay.
to hide around a situation. I like to be very blunt, and so I'd say unique and blunt if I could use two.
Okay. We'll give you two. That's fair. Let's say you've got some work to do or you have some golf to play. What is your song to get in the zone? One song in your headphones before you start.
Let's see. I would say, hands down, my favorite song that really just gets me in a good mood is Your Love by the Outfield.
Oh, nice one.
Love
Okay,
it.
good answer.
Yeah.
That's a good answer. Okay. So, penultimate question. If you could have dinner with one athlete of all time, dead or alive, who would you choose?
One athlete, dead or alive. Uh, I don't know. I'm going through all my sports on who I would want to sit down with. I don't know. Right now, I'm big into the Kelsey brothers. I would go with Jason Kelsey because I
Ah,
think that would be a good time. I just
I
think
think good
that his
conversation.
one, he definitely knows business and he knows,
Mm.
how to make a brand for himself. But two, just I think the jokes that we could crack back and forth, I
Oh
think
yeah,
that'd be a good one.
million
But
percent. I think he'd be a good one to sit down with, I think.
yeah.
All right, I'm going to call on some final wisdom for you, Sarah. You've had some brilliant stuff. What would be your one piece of career or life advice for the young people and our young listeners?
Yeah, it's my number one advice, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the conversation, but take the risk, right? Take the risk. And for those who are trying to get and break in the door, wherever that may be, specifically the sport industry, I will say take the risk 100%. You have to move. You have to pack up
Mm,
your world and you have to just jump into the water. And that risk that I took moving from, like I said, I wanted to be close to my parents. Did I live with them? Absolutely not, because I would go insane. But I lived so close that if I needed help, they could help me. The
yeah,
moment that I packed up my, world and moved to Orlando, I couldn't just call my mom to come over and let my dog out, right?
yeah,
Like I had to figure out how I was going to function without my security blanket, is what I would call my parents all the time. And so
of course.
now, understanding taking the risk, I had to learn, where's the grocery store? Where's the closest gas station? What do I do for
Yeah.
fun on my weekends? How do I make friends? Like think about that. And
I know.
being able to do that and to really take the risk, you learn a lot about yourself, not only personally but professionally.
But
And being able to, again, throw yourself into an uncomfortable situation, but be comfortable being uncomfortable, you'll thrive and you'll be able to be more adaptable to other situations that are thrown at you, and you won't be as scared, and you can't just call mom to come fix your problem anymore.
come
You have
fix
to
your
take
problems.
responsibility. Yeah. So
Well, there we
take the
go.
risk.
Well, Sarah, I cannot thank you enough for coming on. Thank you so much. You've had some great advice. You've done me a huge favor, if nothing else. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jack. This is
Anyone
awesome.
looking for opportunities, internships are full time, teamwork online, Hurricane are great to work with. Sarah's a great boss to work for. And
Thank
keep
you.
an eye out. Keep an eye on the socials. We've got another episode on Wednesday, another episode on Sunday. Follow Hurricane and apply for internships.
Jack, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Of
you, man,
course.
and good luck with this. This is an
Thank you.
awesome gig for you. So keep it going. We'll support it. I've told everybody
Appreciate
at
it.
Hurricane about it for today. So
Great.
we
Thank you.
definitely will support you as you continue with, your podcast here and what you're trying to do.
Amazing. Great. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Awesome, man. I'll talk to you.
All right. Well, that's all for today, folks. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and were also able to gain some valuable insight into a potential career. Please head over to Instagram and TikTok and follow us. That's the Brodie Blueprint. And also don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube as well. If you guys have any guests that you want to see on the podcast or any industries that you want to see guests appear from, please let us know. Until next time, guys. See you later.